I'm very pleased to have our next speaker on board. If we can give a big round of applause to Mohsen, who's head of product at Numetrics, and he's going to explain this journey and how we can mature our VOC into a predictive way of working. So Mohsen, over to you. Big round of applause, please.
Thank you. Okay, do I have a speaker or should I stay here?
You can stay there. Have you got a headset?
It's okay, I'll just stay here. So, that's fine. Welcome everybody. So let me do a quick quiz before we start. I'm assuming everybody here has a voice of customer platform or system implemented. What do you think, or raise of hands, what's the average response rate of survey respondents in Saudi Arabia for regular retail industry? Go ahead. 5%? Anybody think it's higher? It's 5%, around 4 to 10% at max, at best. In some cases, you have 30% if it's a large enterprise with very few transactions. All right, another good question. How many of you have had situations where you come with a really good CX improvement idea, and then you go to management and they say, well, what's the ROI on this, or how much of the NPS is this really going to improve? Raise of hands. That's a big challenge with most CX professionals, right? Difficult to quantify the benefit of a lot of the ideas that come out of the voice of customer platform. So what I'm going to talk about today, if I can, oh, presentation's up. There should be a presentation. Okay. All right, so what I'm going to talk about today is predictive customer experience. Predictive customer experience, of course, is not a replacement of our current voice of customer platforms or what we measure today. It's actually a bolt-on. It's an add-on. It takes the existing customer data that you're collecting today on a regular basis, even if it's 5% of your customers. It merges it with all the other operational and contextual data that you have, including financial data, and it's able to give you a wealth of predictive insights that allows you to actually forecast what could happen if you did certain changes in your organization. What could happen if you improve the claim turnaround time, or if you reduce the rejection rate on certain claims. It also can give you what happens if I can predict every single customer, not just the 5%, every single customer, or let's say 99% of my customers, I can predict with relative accuracy what is their actual NPS at any moment in time, whether it's on a relationship level or even on that journey they just finished. How can I use that data if I can predict it for every single customer, right? So that's the idea I'm going to be talking about today. First thing is, let's take a look at, I hope my voice is loud enough, because first thing we want to talk about is, am I audible? I think so. Yes, test. Testing? Good. Okay, much more flexible. I'd rather walk on the stage than sit behind a podium. So the first thing is, let's look at what a current voice of customer system actually does. It's very useful in well, you would need to know whether they were happy with that last transaction or whether they're happy with your relationship overall or not, because that would be one of the critical inputs for any marketing campaign you do, any win-back strategy, any cross-selling strategy that you do. Today, we're using operational data. Many companies use operational data to be able to do such predictions. So these predictions exist, but they're running directly on operational data. Predictive CX takes that one level above, or one to the next level, and says, what if we can actually predict the satisfaction of each and every customer at every transaction that he does with us, and be able to interject into that transaction and win back the customer if we know, based on the operational data and based on the predictive model, that he's actually unhappy. Or if we know that the overall relationship is deteriorating and his sentiment or his NPS is declining over time. Or, on the other hand, if we know that the guy is super happy with us, he's a promoter. Well, can we not use that and do a referral offer to that customer? So there's quite a lot of information you can get if you're able to predict it on an individual customer level. The next point is many of our surveys are actually quite, well, if we're lucky and we have a platform like Medallia, we're able to get NPS or the CSAT immediately at the end of the journey from most of our customers. But what if you don't have such systems, or even within that journey, what if that journey is a 70-day journey? It's a motor claim. You have to take the motor to a workshop. It takes 4 or 5 weeks for the workshop to actually do the motor claim. So you're only getting that feedback at the very end of that journey. Imagine if you're able to predict at the various stages of that journey what the satisfaction is, and jump into the middle of that journey and do the rectifications needed. Next is typically, I think most of the CX professionals know, it is extremely time consuming to convert data insights we get from platforms like Medallia into actionable recommendations that we can give to management. It takes time. It's there. It takes time. How do you decide if the customer satisfaction is driven by a process turnaround time or the SLA of the project of the process, or is it driven mainly by the transaction that we're doing being error-free? Many of these things we can put it in our surveys as questions, but when rubber hits the road, we'd like to know, does that actually reflect, do the customers with lower turnaround times on their claims, actually does that mean that they will have a higher satisfaction on their claim? That type of data is possible to do, but requires quite a bit of stitching and quite a bit of analysis. The next point is, of course, the whole point of the ROI. Management keeps asking us, if you're going to do this big project, you're going to consume my resources from my digital app improvement, or you're going to consume my back-end core system development resources. Tell me how much of an NPS improvement this will do so I can allocate the resources necessary or the budget necessary. And it's quite difficult to quantify that in most cases. Finally, I think we're all very familiar with this. Customers tend to get quite fatigued with a lot of surveys. So we try to boost the survey response rates by shooting more surveys, but of course, you have to be very cognizant of customer survey fatigue, so you try to limit the number of surveys each customer gets at any point in time. Now, there are quite good benefits of a good predictive model that can predict customer satisfaction, so you don't have to just rely on the 5% of customers that respond to surveys. Imagine if you can take those survey responses, combine it with operational data, financial data, contextual data from your app and the logs of your app usage of your customers, and be able to quantify or predict or estimate the NPS or CSAT on every journey, on every transaction, and even on a relationship level for 95 to 100% of your customers. Once you have that data in real time, you'll be able to win back customers, you'll be able to interject or jump in the middle of a journey and try to rectify that journey for the customer. You'll be able to assess whether the deterioration of that NPS justifies you to give an offer to the customer to win them back or to rectify the relationship overall. You'll be able to also leverage the promoters that you know predicted, because typically I think most of us know that customers don't Either they're very happy or they're very angry and they fill in your surveys. The middle people rarely answer. So you're able to now predict for 95% of your customers, even the promoters and the passives. And for those, in the case of promoters, you'll be able to now leverage those promoters to generate more business for you. Referral offers, giving them the ability to, knowing that they're promoters, giving them the ability to market you through word of mouth. Third is imagine the data that you'll be able to leverage to give your individual managers or let's say journey owners in your organization the ability to themselves make decisions on what operational levers can I improve or to improve my journey satisfaction. If you have an onboarding journey and you have the head of the credit card sales and he wants to assess exactly what in the onboarding journey do I need to improve the overall satisfaction of the onboarding journey. With a predictive model, he'll be able to not just understand that, but also predict and forecast it over a period of time because you have all the operational metrics and you'll be able to say, if I improve the turnaround time, for example, of the onboarding journey, that will have an X% improvement on my satisfaction over the next 6 months. Okay? How do we build a predictive model? Well, the core of a predictive model is the engine or the predictive engine. It's usually machine learning based engine, but the critical part is the data that goes into it. So obviously one of the key data that you need is voice of customer based data. So whatever that 5% or 10% of your customers that actually respond to your surveys. Second is all your operational data from your front end systems and your back end systems. Whether it's your core transaction management systems, your ERP systems, your CRM, your front-end app and web-based and call center data, all of that gets fed in addition to contextual data. If you're familiar with systems like the DXA and Medallia that provides you the contextual data of what a customer actually does on your app, that also feeds into it, in addition to financial data of the customer and other such data. All of this feeds into that model. The model runs various types of regression analysis. We'll talk very briefly about what those models are. And it delivers two main outputs. One, individual transaction and individual customer for predicted satisfaction, which then you can leverage across all your digital marketing platform systems, CRM 360 systems where the agents are able to see predicted satisfaction of every single transaction of customer. And a forecasting model that allows your management to actually predict or forecast, if I improve this much the turnaround time of this transaction, what could be the impact of satisfaction over the next X number of months? So very quickly, predictive models deliver always-on sentiment, not just tracking, but actually prediction. Driver analytics that spot the biggest levers, so it actually bubbles up for you from the thousands or let's say initially hundreds of operational metrics and contextual metrics that it's capturing, can bubble up what are the top 10. What are the top 10 that will really make a difference in the satisfaction in this particular journey that you're looking at? Third, it's real time, meaning if you build it the right way, the data that's feeding into it is real time and the predictive model is continuously updating so that if something changes in the market, the model itself is looking at it again and it's updating itself as it goes along. Let's take an example of how this actually works. So if we look at Ahmed, he just went through an onboarding journey. The predictive model predicted that Ahmed is having a minus 30 NPS in this particular journey. Okay? Or let's assume he didn't predict the NPS in this minus 30 versus a plus 50, two scenarios. So if the model predicted that he has a 50 NPS or let's say 60, 70 NPS, and the customer is, gave us an 8 or 9 on the NPS score versus 8, 9 or 10 versus a 1 or 2 on the NPS score, the model already tells your downstream systems, so their CRM 360 or your digital marketing platform, that this customer is either predicted to be very happy promoter or a detractor. Then those systems, based on rules that you've set, will be able to inform certain actions in the front end of your interactions with the customer. So imagine your digital marketing platform then automatically initiates an outbound message to the customer, whether it's a push notification or an SMS, to give him an offer. Dear Ahmed, hope you enjoyed that onboarding journey for that credit card. Would you like to bring a friend on board and get 6 months of free visits to Crown Plaza's Business Lounge or whatever other offer? On the other hand, if you know that the customer actually was very unhappy with that interaction, imagine that call is automatically directed to the queue of the agent in the call center. It shows up on his on his CRM 360, gives them the necessary background, and the agent is now able to call the customer. Dear customer, you just finished an onboarding journey. I realize it might not have gone very well for you. Can I help you? Right? Now, on the other hand, imagine you're a manager or a line manager or a journey owner in your company, and you use this tool to be able to say, okay, I'm responsible for the journey of onboarding, and I need to know exactly what are the top things I can do over the next 6 months to improve my satisfaction or NPS or CSAT from 2 out of 5 CSAT to, let's say, 4 out of 5 CSAT. What are the top things I can do? So this model is able to give you that capability where you're able to look at the top drivers, assess and play around with the model to say, what if I improve these particular drivers by X% over the next 6 months, what would be the impact on the CSAT? And that allows you then to go to management and say, not only can I, not only does this idea work, I can also quantify for you what the CSAT forecast would be for this particular improvement that we're recommending. Typically, this is just a visualization. You'll get in front of you the model that allows you to manipulate or control the forecasting. So you'll have all the levers, all the drivers bubbling up in the dashboard. You'll be able to select from those drivers the ones that you want to really improve, because not everything is possible to improve in the organization. And then make assumptions over the next 6 months, 8 months of how much improvement you want to do in that particular lever, and what would be the CSAT impact. Very quickly, in terms of data architecture, this is quite a complex structure that you would need to build, but of course it leverages what you already have with your voice of customer platforms, because I'm assuming most voice of customer platforms in this room are probably collecting the data from multiple existing systems, whether it's your core transaction systems or your front-end systems. So that data, plus contextual data on top of it, plus financial data from your ERP systems, all feed into this model. The model then is able to, through API links, real-time deliver that forecast on an individual transaction and customer basis to all your front-end systems. And those front-end systems and the managers of those front-end systems and the business owners set the rules of what to do with that data. Digital marketing can make a rule that, whenever a customer is very happy with a journey, let's give them a referral offer. Or let's ensure that the contact center calls that customer back in case of a critical journey. There are different models to take. I'm not going to go into the model details, but there are multiple models that a predictive model can use. You just need to really see what are your use cases, what you want to focus on first, and then based on that, decide what model works best for your particular use cases. Now, typically, the models that work best in the most common use cases that I've worked with are random forest and the GXBoost, so essentially the ensemble tree models. Organizations that are able to leverage predictive CX, obviously predictive CX is very new in the industry. It's not something that every company or many companies have adopted, but the ability to leverage predictive CX in your organization allows you to be the first in your particular industry, to create the ability to, in a more agile way, predict what customers need and forecast it faster, allowing you to make your decisions faster. The length of time it takes organizations to make decisions about improvements usually slows down the organization. If you're able to speed up that process of decision making, you're able to create more agility in the organization. The second point is, if you're able to be the first in your industry to launch predictive CX, the regulators and standard-setting organizations in the country are going to start looking at it, and they're going to start adopting the way you're doing things into the rest of the organization. So you're actually going to create the standards for the organization of how customer experience is monitored and managed in that particular organization that you're in. Finally, and very, very briefly, there is actually a roadmap of how to deploy predictive CX. It does require quite a bit of thinking. It's not something that it's not a one-size-fits-all. You need to really make decisions whether you acquire a model, a ready-made built model that you just plug and play with some modifications, or you build it from scratch yourself. Whichever way the model is built, you need to put in place the necessary guardrails. This is, at the end of the day, a predictive model. It might cause hallucinations and such, so you need to really be careful how the model is structured, and you need to have a proper governance and oversight over it. And then, of course, you need to plan the data architecture. It's very, very critical how the data all works with each other, and how the dashboards look in terms of the use cases for the management, in addition to which downstream systems will leverage the per customer and per transaction data and what they will do with it. Okay. And that's it from me. Thank you very much.